Shalom, today is November 17th and we're in day 408 of the war in Israel. Today, Israelis are reading in Yediot Achronot, the main headline, Lachatz, pressure. Lachatz al hadachia baderech lehasdara. More pressure on the Dachia, which is in Beirut, on the way to reach a calm. Dachia is a neighborhood in Beirut. But up here we see two ptsatzot, shtei ptsatzot. Ptsatzot are, ptsatzot te'ura are flares that were shot to the house of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Caesarea, at his private home. That's an escalation in internal violence. And down here it reads, Le'ehov ad mavet, to love unto death. And this is on the fresh grave of Ariel Sosnov that was killed during the weekend. This is in the military section in Mount Herzl. His girlfriend is laying flowers on Erev Shabbat, on Friday evening. The cartoon on the first page is a play on words. This is in Israel. Here we see a man and woman running to what's called here Merchav Mugan, to a safe shelter. We see the interceptions in the air, and they're saying, Chayavim hasdara ladofek shelanu. We need a calm. Hasdara is the same word for calm that we want to reach in Lebanon. Chayavim hasdara ladofek shelanu. We need a calm for our pulse. Because Haifa and the north has been continued to been bombed, and more and more rockets have been launched to there since the weekend. A lot of fire this past weekend. So Israel in the north is not calm. Israel b'milchama. Israel's at war between two fronts. Halechima b'drom Lebanon nimshechet. The war, the battles in South Lebanon is continuing because of negotiations to reach a calm, or a political agreement. And in Jabalia, which is in the northern part of the Gaza Strip, they're still handling some heavy battles. So between two fronts, Lebanon and Gaza, still. The headline is saying when the military clock is preceding the political clock. In the subheadline, it writes that in the north, this is the status, the IDF has completed on time the assignments in the first line of the villages from which the Radwan forces would have invaded the Galilee. So that is done. The next operation is getting closer to the second layer of villages, but they're worried they'll be entering the winter. And reading here, Bot Lebanoni, in the Lebanese mud, that's soon coming up. They're hoping they won't have to continue that long in Lebanon. The IDF forces were surprised to realize that some terror infrastructure was found also near the Christian villages, not only the Muslim villages. So we see that the Hezbollah is using the Lebanese citizens as human shields. In Gaza, the IDF fighters are trying to demolish the hundreds of homes that belong to Hamas. Hamas is fighting hard there. This is in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. Hamas is booby-trapping so much there that it's making it difficult for the IDF to work, but they are fighting. They're fighting well. Down here, in order to encourage the IDF fighters that have been fighting so long since the beginning of the establishment of Israel, we have not had such a long war. So in order to encourage the fighters, we see Herzi Halevi saying that the IDF is not getting tired. It's not getting weary. This is the chief of staff saying this to the fighters that are fighting in Gaza. And another battalion commander said, we are not finished, and our strength is not finished. He says that to his fighters in South Lebanon. So the war is continuing, less soldiers, but it's still continuing, and we're hoping not to enter another winter, especially not in South Lebanon, where it gets very muddy, very cold, and dangerous. On the left, we hear that Uri nilcham lesharet bakarvi. Uri fought to serve in the infantry units, but he was killed during the weekend. He's 21 years old, from Jerusalem, Uri Nisanovich. He was a religious soldier. He got up early in the morning, it says here, to read from his Torah, to read and to learn. This is an example of how religious soldiers can serve in the military. They can incorporate the Torah studies and their quiet time with the service. The IDF does respect that. May his memory be blessed. Down here, the headline is from a Lebanese newspaper that's not showing optimism. Actually, is quite skeptical that Israel will come to a cease or to a calm with Lebanon. And they're saying Israel is not in a position of imposing her conditions. So there's pessimism also in Lebanon concerning the calm that will bring to the stop or the cease of the war. We remember that the conditions that Israel is putting is that Israel will be able to use force if the ceasefire or the calm will be interrupted with fire from Hezbollah. So even Israel is not sure that Lebanon will agree to this because it requires them to abide by the agreement. Hezbollah should abide by the agreement. Next headline. פצצות תאורה נפלו בחצר הבית של נתניהו בקיסריה. These are flares, bombs that actually create a lot of light, fell in the yard of Benjamin Netanyahu's home. Here we are, we see his home from the bird's view of Netanyahu in Caesarea. The police and the security forces have opened immediately an investigation. 3 have been arrested, and these are anti-government activists that are coming against Netanyahu. But everyone from the political fields, everybody is speaking very harshly against this action. The opposition, the coalition, everyone says this is absolutely a no-no. This brings to the next level is just shooting him, right? So flares are no joke in his private home. Thankfully, Netanyahu and his family were not in the home when this happened. It was yesterday at 7:30 p.m. The column on the left reads, Tzahal magbir et halachatz al Dachia. Tzahal is increasing the pressure on the Dachia. And the Dachia is a neighborhood in Beirut that is fortified by Hezbollah and by the Radwan forces. Here is smoke that's rising from Beirut yesterday. More than 70 rockets were launched over to Israel yesterday. There was much damage as a result from one of these rockets falling in Haifa. 5 were injured in a lightly way as they were hurt by running to a safe place. There were also hurts in a building in Nahariya and another place in Tamara. So yeah, a weekend full of hard fire towards Israel and even to Haifa. Thankfully, no one has been killed. Here in the small picture here, we see the damage in Haifa. And praise God, nobody was there. Next headline, Rishayon laharog, license to kill. This article is speaking about the correlation, the connection between the rise in arming yourself as self-protection since the beginning of the war, to the women that are hurt in violence at home, domestic violence. So since the beginning of the war, Israel has been more relaxed on people getting armed for self-protection with guns, but more and more women have been suffering from domestic violence, and they're quoting their husbands, the violent husbands, saying all it takes is one bullet from this gun. So on one hand, yes, it's important to arm yourself for self-protection. In Israel, it's much harder from the US, for instance. So since the beginning of the war, it makes it a little bit easier. But on the other hand, they're saying here that's important to make sure who is arming themselves and to work together with the social services, just making sure that the man arming himself is not someone that's registered with violent history or maybe registered just as a dangerous spouse to his wife. The criteria needs to be tightened, they're saying here. Amen to that. Down here we see Lior Ben Ami. She leads the Michal Sela Forum. Michal Sela is actually a friend of mine, a young mother who came to my place for child development courses with other young mothers, and she was murdered by her husband several years ago. Lili since then is an activist for against family or domestic violence and has been fighting this violence. She's quoted a lot in the newspapers and in morning shows on TV. God bless her work. Something good to end with is volunteers that are coming to support and help renovate and rebuild homes in the south, And in the north, these are Israelis that are helping and supporting and putting funds and time and energy into rebuilding and renovating homes for those who have been evacuated or places that are unsafe to live in, and those people are now in temporary homes. This is very heartwarming. One of the students that is supporting a family in the house says, if they're living here in this danger zone in the north, how can I say that it's dangerous for me? So it's a lot of handiwork and a big initiative that called up handymen to come and support. That is it for today. For more relevant news about Israel and news that matters, go to allisrael.com, sign up to our YouTube channel, like it if you liked it, and share it with your family and friends. This is Rotem again for All Israel News.